Good morning, hi, hello. Today is what I call the perfect mix of a day. In the morning, we are going to do a lot of personal things, and in the afternoon, we are going to go to work. My name is Megan. I'm an ESL teacher at a university in China. We're finishing up our semester, so I'm vlogging basically every day until the end of the year. This afternoon, we have some final exams. We have 4 hours of class in the afternoon, but I'm free in the morning, so I want to start brainstorming my goals for 2025. Now, I know for some people, maybe this is a pretty simple, straightforward process, but I always find that I like to brainstorm my goals for a certain amount of time before actually physically setting my goals, just to make sure that the things I'm putting on my goals list are things that truly align with me, things that are truly realistic, truly practical, things that I can actually achieve. Before we head to class then, I want to spend a little bit of time just brainstorming, so let's do that now. We've got the supplies. So here I have my 2025 bullet journal. We're not gonna write in her today though, because I want to spend a little bit of time kind of reflecting and thinking over what I brainstorm before I set it in stone and write it in the new bullet journal. I have my I have my bullet journal from this year. I'm going to use this to look over my categories. I find that when I'm starting to brainstorm my goals, I really like to look at categories and just fill them in as I go. And then I just have a normal notebook where I can just write them in. I'm going to put a different category on each page and just brainstorm. Last year, I had the categories personal, health, wedding, explore, Atlas teaching, PhD, work, financial, and relationships. To be honest, I'm probably going to carry in most of these to the next year. However, my wedding has finished. I don't need to carry that one in. I might change the names of some of them as well, but we'll see. So right now I'm just going to brainstorm the things that I want to do. If I'm not 100% sure on it, then I'll write a question mark next to it. And here's also where I'm going to start trying to make decisions about the quantity or the measurement of things. For example, every year I always want to go to a new province in China, and I'm going to decide, should I try to go to 2 new provinces? I would love to go to 3. I would love to go to 5. I would love to go to 10, right? But what's the most realistic? Later, when I fully write down my goals, I can double check it to see if that still sounds realistic. Whew. Okay, it's been a while. I had originally planned to talk through these brainstormed goals with you, but I have to leave for class soon. So let me just share the categories that I decided and maybe give a little bit of insight into what they're going to be. So I decided to do personal, travel, experience, health, financial, relationships, work, PhD, and Atlas teaching. Instead of having explore, I kind of separated them into travel and experience this year. It's the first time I've done that, so we'll see how it goes. So a couple of things, like for financials, I really want to go home next winter, so I want to start putting aside money each month. That way I don't have to feel guilty about going home. I have the money already set aside. Apologize if you can hear my husband. He's working from home today and he has a meeting. I want to read 52 books. I want to get my Chinese driver's license. I think I would like to go to 2 new provinces and 1 new state. Those are kind of just some ideas for what I have, but I do have to get ready to go to class now, so let's head out. Maybe I'll make another separate video talking all about this a little bit later. Class has finished. That was such a good afternoon. Not gonna lie, last week I was very overstimulated. We had so many exams, we had so many students, it was chaotic. This one, so calm, so relaxed. The students just stayed a couple of extra minutes because they wanted to talk and they wanted to chat. It's actually crazy because Now most of my students have they said an 11-day break. So they finished all of their spoken exams, then they have this long break, then they come back to school and they finish their written exams. They have such a different schedule compared to me, but the students were so sweet. We had a really fun time talking together. Students brought her Instax, so we took a picture together. I just think it's so cute, it's so sweet. And I love when they give me a copy as well. So I'll be able to save this. And then they brought me a gift of a blind box. This one, and we had all the different options, and they were like, can you open it in front of us because we're dying to know what you got too. And they were like, you have to choose, which one do you want? So I chose Nick the fox. Guess what I got? They were all like, it's your lucky day. It's your lucky after Christmas day. And one of the other students brought me some chocolate as well. They are so sweet this semester. It has truly been such a joy to just talk with them and spend time with them and see how much they are interested in like staying after class and talking. And like, they don't have to get me gifts, but it's just so sweet that they're thinking of me at Christmas time. I love them. That actually was such a great afternoon, and the whole time I was leaving I just kept running into different groups of students and it was really fun. I really feel like the last 2 weeks they've opened up so much. It's really so crazy. I feel like it's a mixture of knowing that the semester is ending and they might not have me again as a teacher. They're all like, wait a minute, wait, talk to Megan as much as possible. But it was really nice. I do have to send a few messages to give the students feedback after their exams. I also have to fill out a little bit of paperwork. During the winter holiday, the school asks us to fill out a form letting them know which country or what city we're going to be in during the holiday. I feel like post-COVID, that's really become more and more common. That really vamped up during COVID because we had to ask for permission to leave the city even during the weekends, and that permission could be denied as well. But then the craziest time was when they asked us to sign things that pledged that we wouldn't go anywhere but work and home during zero COVID prevention measures. Like, you only go to work and go home, work and home. They were like, you will not stop at convenience stores, you will not go to grocery stores, like all this crazy stuff. Why am I glad that's over? Let me do a little bit of paperwork, send some messages, we'll eat dinner. Then I thought it would be really fun to look at some books. But first, let's do work. Right, let's see what tea we got for today. It's crazy. It's so light now. Ooh, okay. This one is not a city. It just says Magic Christmas Tea. And this one is a red tea with chocolate notes. Oh, I think I'm really gonna like that one. That one's good. So how about we drink some tea and talk books. Now, this is something I haven't really talked about, but I love reading. It's one of my like main hobbies. I try to read 52 books a year, and then at the end of the year I really like to do a kind of like a March Madness situation where I choose the best book of each month and then I have them bracketed out and kind of battle each other. Let's see what my top books of the year are going to be. Okay, let's adjust the angle a little bit there. So I have my Goodreads and I also have my bullet journal, which is written out which books I read in which months. Now, I read 80 books this year. So are we gonna be here for a while? Yeah, maybe. In January, I read a lot. Oh my goodness, that was so much reading. I read really bad books. I had really high hopes for Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead, and I felt a little bit disappointed by it. I thought The 7-Year Slip was quite good, which got me into reading more romance this year, which I don't usually lean towards romance, but one of my friends is a writer and I'm going to be editing her book next semester or next year. I think maybe the best book in January was called Life in 5 Senses. It's a book all about a woman just trying to experience and appreciate her senses more. So she goes on this like little experiment to try, you know, for a month or two to really focus on her sight, focus on her smelling, all of those things. Not bad. Okay, so let's write that one down for January. For February. Okay, I also did a lot of reading in February because that was during the Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year. So I was on trains, and then also just a lot of like downtime reading. So let's see what we read. Burial Rites. I absolutely loved this book. It is loosely based off of a real woman who was the first woman to be executed in Ireland, and they kind of just talked about her. No, Iceland. Sorry, not Ireland. I feel like I knew this woman. The way this was written was amazing. If you're looking for a fun book, One of Us is Dead felt like Desperate Housewives, and I read that on the train back, and that made time go really, really quickly. But I think I have to go with Burial Rites. When I finished that book, I just felt like so sad to say goodbye to her because I truly felt like I knew this woman. March, let's see what we have. Okay, a little bit less reading because that's when things started to pick up again crazy. That's also when I went hardcore lesson planning. Wedding planning. I read really fun books like Applied Statistics, which was great. Oh, this was not a good year. Or this was not a good month. I really didn't like it. I read fiction books that were just not it. The Framed Women of Ardmore House, Family, but easy. This might end up being one of my top books of the year. I read a book called Clara Bow, Running Wild, and I discovered a new kind of like a subgenre of book that I absolutely love. I love reading books that are set like in the past, like 1920s, 1940s. But what was so amazing about this is because yes, it is in the past, but it's documented on YouTube. It was amazing to me that I was reading a book about something that happened so long ago, and they would talk about like a scene where Clara decided to do this instead of do this, and I could just look it up on YouTube and watch it. That combination was amazing. I was constantly like stopping the book and going on YouTube and watching everything, and it was so fun. I really liked that. Okay, let's go to April. Okay, I read a lot of textbooks. You know, along with that, I read a book called A Beautiful Rival, and this was a novel of Helena Rubinstein and Elizabeth Arden, which was very similar in the fact that it was loosely based off of two real women, but I could go online and search information. So they were talking about like, you know, this one was copying her marketing strategy and copied her advertisements, and I could go on Google and actually search for the product and search for the advertisement, and I thought that was just so fun. It's interesting that I had those back to back. I should look for more of those in 2025 because I really found that to be so fun. It's like this perfect period where it's really old, but you can still find all this information online. It's like loosely based on real events. That was so fun. I think that's genuinely the book I enjoyed the most. But there's this one book that I think I just have to give it to the top spot because of how creative it is. And this is called The Bromance Book Club. This is a fiction book. I don't think I finished what I was saying. My friend is a writer and I'm going to be editing her book next year, and I just feel like romance books do such a good job of character development, sometimes, not always. But you know, if you're reading like sci-fi or fantasy, yes, of course there's character development, but there's so much time spent world building and there's like really intense plot points. Or you have something with fiction that's like really beautiful writing and it's really like verbose. But my friend's style of writing is not like super flowery, super verbose. It's a little bit more like just direct. What's going on? People's lives, things are happening. Okay, well, brief intermission there. The cats were playing and they just knocked over a whole bunch of stuff. Where were we? Okay, we were talking about my friend's book. Because my friend is writing about like very ordinary people in ordinary situations, I kind of discovered that romance books are really good at writing that. They're really good at focusing on dialogue and creating situations where people will be talking to each other. And I just feel like I read romance books from the perspective of like, what works? Why do I care about these characters but not these characters? Why does this dialogue feel so real and so meaningful while this dialogue falls flat? I did do a lot of romance reading this year, which has been a whole different genre that I've kind of been exploring. All of that to say, I think this idea in and of itself gives it the winning point. The idea is that this guy's marriage is in trouble and his sports team, like he's a professional athlete, his sports team, what are those called? His teammates, like bring him over and they're like, hey, do you want to join our secret club? And their secret club is a bromance book club where they read romance books to learn what women want and learn how to treat them better. Just such a creative concept, and they're hardcore about it. Like they sit down with their highlighters and they're like studying it. I think the idea, 10 out of 10. Okay, for May, okay, we're getting into a lot of textbooks. In May and June, I was reading so many textbooks. I read Funny Story by Emily Henry, which I enjoyed. I also liked a book called Make It Stick. However, I feel like I appreciated the book because it was a good example of what not to do and what to do. I would love one day to write a book about teaching, like how to teach ESL. And as I was reading this book, Make It Stick, I just kept thinking like, oh, don't do this, do this, don't do this, do this. And one of my assignments was to write a summary about the quality of the book, not necessarily the content, but like how the ideas were presented. And I had never done that. Like I've never had that kind of assignment for my PhD before, and I really appreciated that. So was it the best book? No, but was it the most meaningful book that I read that month? Yeah, so I think we'll go with Make It Stick. In June, again, tons of textbooks. I did enjoy a book called Upgrade Your Teaching, and this one was a little bit less of like a textbook and more about like a book about teaching. Okay, in July, I think I'm gonna have to go with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I know, I'm so late to the game. I know everyone has already read this book, but I read this on the flight from China to America, and it just was such an easy book to get lost in. I really feel like I knew her and I knew her world. Yeah, we have to go with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue because I had just like 4 bad books in a row. Books that were like, okay, this is a kind of a good idea, but the execution I did not enjoy. Like, allow me to introduce myself. Everything I learned in a Chinese restaurant. How to End a Love Story. We're talking like my least favorite books of the year right in a row. So The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue was a breath of fresh air after the after the disaster that was June. I did enjoy The Golden Couple, also in July. I picked that up at a free library on Cornelia Street, and it was just really fun. It was so fun to read a physical book because I never read physical books. I just read ebooks. So fun to do that. August, I had a lot of weird books in August. I did enjoy The Anxious Generation. I always enjoyed this author. He is an auto read for me. Basically, he was talking about what we know so far about the effects of social media and its development on children, because really we don't have a lot of data. We don't have a lot of information over time. Like really, Gen Z is the first generation to truly experience like growing up with social media. Maybe some millennials would have had it, but we got it when we were much older. And so the study was about like, how does social media affect your brain and affect your development before the age of 16? I might have to go with Be Frank With Me. I was amazed by the creativity and the writing of this one. This is a really kind of a strange book about a woman who becomes kind of like a nanny to this really precocious kid. This kid acts like he's 50 years old, and he was just adorable. It was truly a joy to read. There was a lot of other weird stuff going on with the plot. I think that one might be my favorite just because I genuinely enjoyed the process of reading it. Okay, for September. Wow, okay, here we have another month of me being very excited about the possibility of books and then falling flat. I read The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. He's one of my favorite authors. It's hard to describe. I'm still thinking about it. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Also, I read The One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. Same situation. This one was so promising. At the beginning of the book, it's about a couple who decides to go on this reality dating show. And so the guy wants to do it because he wants to be famous, and the girl wants to do it because she's kind of been roped into it. She finds out very quickly that maybe their relationship is not as strong as she thought it was. And also they get to like this tropical island and things start to feel weird. And I was like, oh, this is fascinating. Like imagine you go on this dating reality show and you find out like, oh, I think our relationship is not that strong. But then also, what if there's something sinister going on behind the scenes? Like they'll take your phone away from you, and your friends and your family know that you're going to be filming this TV show for a couple of months. Like what if something sinister happened? I thought it was such a fun idea. That's not what the book did. The book just did a 180 and did something totally different. And the whole time I was thinking, I kind of like that original idea better. Is it okay if I put a reread on there? I have one reread this year and it was Rules of Civility. This is like a 6-star read for me. It's about 2 women in New York. And I mean, that's all you have to say. to get me on board. But I read Table for Two by the same author, and it's basically a collection of short stories, but at the end there's a novella that's about one of the characters in Rules of Civility. So I reread Rules of Civility so that I could like fully jump into the story again because it's been a couple of years. I kept smiling the whole time I was reading it because it's just that good. I think we're gonna have to, okay, it can't win for the year. I'll set that distinction. It can't win for the year, but it can be the book for September. Okay, then we have October. I read a lot of just okay books that I felt were kind of surface level. I think I might go with None of This Is True. This is a thriller. You've probably seen it. It's everywhere. I just thought it was really creative. Basically, two women meet because they have the same birthday. Like they're both at a restaurant and you know, the restaurant will like bring out a cake and sing happy birthday and both of the women are like, oh, hey, we're birthday twins. And one of the women invites the other woman to join her podcast to hear a little bit about her life, and one of the women just gets obsessed with the other one and it kind of goes into like stalker and you don't really know what to believe or what is true. And I also read this during my staycation in Hong Kong on Lantau Island. It was so relaxing to just be on holiday, to be on break. I just read it at the beach. It was such a fun experience as well. I feel like this year I could say my like disappointments and my top level books because there were some books that I was just so hyped about and I was so disappointed by. Like I read Billy Summers and I was so excited to read that one and it just fell flat for me. I didn't enjoy it that much. Right after that, oh yeah, okay, I don't even have to think about this. I did read some good books in November, like The Unmaking of June Barrow. If you liked The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, you'll love this one. It's like similar story and very similar vibes. I felt like the atmosphere and the writing style was really similar. The Ministry of Time, fascinating, but it has to go to my husband. When I read this book, I knew it would be in my top 3 of the year. I cannot get over how creative this book was, but it's hard to describe. This woman, you're just living inside her mind and she has a very interesting relationship with her husband. Basically, she just gets like bent out of shape over anything and then she will like punish her husband because of the things that happen. For example, just one example, this is a wild ride, but one example is they're at a dinner party and they're just like casually chatting about like, if you were any fruit, what would you be? And her husband says that she would be a tangerine. She loses her mind. She is furious. She can't let it go for weeks and weeks and weeks. She just drives herself crazy, being like, why did he call me a tangerine? Are you kidding me? How could he call me a tangerine? Why didn't he say something like a pineapple? And the whole time you're like, what's bad about a tangerine? What's good about a pineapple? And then she expounds upon it. She's like, a pineapple is so like exotic and exciting and like from faraway lands. Or why didn't he call me a peach? And you're like, what's the difference between a peach and a tangerine? And she's like, because a peach is so delicate and so sweet and so light. Instead, I'm a tangerine. Anytime she sees like any orange color, she's reminded of it. And so she'll punish her husband by doing things like hiding his car keys or pretending not to hear him when he asks her a question. And she has all of these like checks and balances in her life. It was a wild ride and I enjoyed every second of it. I was like, this is just madness. And it was so fun. Okay, all right, then we go to December. This is crazy. Probably like my top 5. Some of them are all in December. I read The Storied Life of AJ Fikry. I think that's how you say his name. I loved this book so much. I think these characters will stay with me. I heard this recommendation and I was like, sure, whatever. It's adorable. It is the coziest book. It's perfect to read in the winter. I fell in love with these characters. I loved it. It's about a man who runs a bookstore. Kind of learns a little bit more about the meaning of life through interactions with his neighbors and his community and a little girl that comes into his life. I also read The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, which, I mean, Donna Tartt, the queen. I was taken aback because I thought this was going to be dark academia like The Secret History was, and it wasn't. So there were some times that I was like, what's going on here? But obviously this is a masterpiece. I think this will be taught in schools in the future. It's so creative. The characters are so vivid. And I feel like this was a love letter to New York City. The way she describes the city and describes the atmosphere and describes like the class dynamics in the city. I loved it. And at the end, if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. Something really bad happens and you think something really bad is going to happen to the character. And I was just like, if something bad happens, if this happens after I spent so many hours with you, I'm going to be so angry. I think it took me like 9 or 10 hours to read this book. It's huge. It is huge, but it's an epic adventure. I also read Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I know, I read a summer book in December. Amazing character development. Amazing. I don't even feel like this was a straight romance. I feel like this was just fiction. Such a good job forming the characters. Such a good job of getting me to care about characters and getting me to completely understand their motivations and their reasoning, even when they were totally different from me. I thought it was fantastic writing. I also read Hamlet because I got to see 2 Shakespeare plays this month, or this year. Amazing. Okay, so now we have chosen the top books of each month. Now we have to fight them out. So for January and February, we have Life in 5 Senses and Burial Rites. I have to go with Burial Rites. That character just stayed with me. Clara Bow and the Bromance Book Club. Obviously Clara Bow. I had so much fun reading that book. I know maybe not everyone would, but I really enjoyed it. Then we have Make It Stick and Upgrade Your Teaching. Upgrade Your Teaching was definitely better. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue and Let Me Be Frank. Maybe The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. It's close. It's close on both of those. I would say both of those are like 4, 4.5. The Rules of Civility and None of This is True. I'm just gonna choose None of This is True because I don't want to give a win to Rules of Civility because it's a reread. But Rules of Civility will always win everything at 6 stars. No. Okay, how can I choose? I have My Husband and The Goldfinch. I think these are my top 2 books of the year, to be completely frank, and now they're battling each other. They're just so difficult to compare. My Husband is like this crazy, creative, really short, wild ride. And The Goldfinch is this long, epic journey. They're too different from each other. Okay, I've been hemming and hawing for a couple of minutes. I'm gonna cut it out because nobody wants to see that. I think I just have to go with The Goldfinch because it's just a masterpiece. But just know, The Goldfinch and My Husband are the top 2 books of the year. Okay, so then we have our last battles. We have Burial Rites and Clara Bow. Clara Bow. I just enjoyed that reading process so much. Upgrade Your Teaching and Addie LaRue. Addie LaRue. None of This is True in The Goldfinch. The Goldfinch. I knew once I saw My Husband and The Goldfinch, I knew the book, whichever book I chose was going to be the winner. So we have Clara Bow, Addie LaRue, and The Goldfinch. The Goldfinch takes the cake. That's kind of crazy because that's almost the last book I read, and that ended up being the winner. I know I haven't really talked about books yet at all online, but I love books. I love reading. I love writing. I love editing. This is a huge part of my life. Obviously, I read 80 books this year. It's a big part of my life. So if you want to see more about books, just let me know and I can update more about books. But I love doing this. I think it's so fun to look back over the year. I feel like this year was a much better year compared to last year regarding the quality of books I read. But we did have a lot of like very high highs and very low lows at the same time. I feel like last year, everything I read was just kind of mid. Like everything was just 3 stars. I really appreciate that I had a little bit more variety this year. But I have been yapping for a very long time. I also thought about talking more about my goals, but it's getting kind of late and we have class tomorrow. So I think maybe I will go over my goals in maybe a separate video, maybe in the new year, because I also do want to take some time and kind of ruminate on them and think about them a little bit more before I make my final decisions, because I want to be really strategic about what I put on my vision board and what I put in my actual goals. Thanks for coming with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I will see you tomorrow with another video. Bye.